The Telegram account looks completely fine right up until the day it isn't. You go to message someone outside your contacts, and a grey notice tells you that you can't. No warning, no email, just a quiet wall. By the time you see it, the trust score that decides this was already spent weeks ago. So let me show you how to keep an account from getting there, because almost every input is something you control. I run managed Telegram hosting on dedicated hardware here in Singapore. Real handsets, real carrier SIMs, sitting in a rack and staying online around the clock. Over the last 2 years, I've watched a lot of accounts either survive or get limited. And the pattern is not random. This isn't about evading anything or tricking the platform, it's the opposite. It's about making a real account look exactly like what it is, so the systems that hand out limits leave it alone. Here's what we'll cover. What limited actually means and why it's different from a ban. The 4 things that trigger it. The infrastructure side, meaning your device and your IP, which most people never think about. The behavior side, meaning what you do day to day. And then the actual habits that keep an account healthy, with real numbers instead of vague advice. Start with what a limit even is. Telegram doesn't run a single on or off switch. It runs a trust score in the background, and that score decides what your account is allowed to do. A fully trusted account can message strangers, join groups freely, and create channels. A low trust account quietly loses those abilities one at a time. The most common limit is losing the ability to message people who aren't already your contacts. You can still talk to existing contacts, still read groups, still use the app normally, you just can't reach anyone new. That's the platform telling you it isn't sure you're a real person yet. This matters because a limit is recoverable and a ban usually isn't. A limit is the system being cautious. A ban is the system being certain. Everything here is about staying clearly on the trusted side of that line, so you never give it a reason to get cautious in the first place. There's a tier most people never notice because they never hit it. Before a hard limit, you get soft throttling. A flood wait, which is a rate limit with a countdown attached, telling you to wait some number of seconds before you act again. Those waits start small, a few seconds, and grow if you keep pushing. Most people treat a flood wait as an annoyance and retry the moment it clears. That's the mistake. A flood wait is the system's early warning. Repeated flood waits in a short window are the most reliable predictor of a coming limit I've seen across our handsets. When you see one, the correct move is to slow down for a day, not to push back to the same pace the second the timer ends. Now the 4 triggers in the order they actually cause problems. The first is sending volume that's too high for your account's age. A 2-day-old account that sends 40 messages to strangers looks like a script, because real 2-day-old accounts almost never do that. The second is repetition. Sending the same or near identical text to many people or many groups is the single clearest automation signal there is. The third is your infrastructure, the device and the network the account lives on. And the fourth is the report signal, meaning other users tapping report on your messages. Any one of these can cost you. 2 of them together will. Let me take the infrastructure side first, because it's the part people skip and it quietly poisons everything else. Telegram sees the IP address every session connects from. If that IP belongs to a known data center range, a flagged VPN pool, or a shared proxy that hundreds of other accounts also use, your account inherits the reputation of everything else on that address. You can behave perfectly and still sit at a lower starting trust because of the company your IP keeps. This is why 2 accounts doing the exact same thing can get different outcomes. One is on a clean residential or mobile IP, the other is on a worn-out shared pool. The device matters in the same way. A real phone on a real carrier SIM produces a stable, believable session. The handset doesn't jump between networks every hour. The IP doesn't rotate overnight. The session just persists, the way a real person's phone does. When your account lives on something that keeps changing its network identity, you're constantly resetting the trust the platform was slowly building. Stability is itself a signal, and instability reads as evasion even when you're doing nothing wrong. Let me make the IP point concrete, because use a clean IP is easy to say and easy to get wrong. There are roughly 3 kinds of address an account can live on. Data center IPs, which are what a cheap VPS or most commercial VPNs hand you, and which are the easiest to spot and the lowest trust. Shared proxy pools, where you're one of many accounts behind the same address, so you inherit every other account's behavior whether you like it or not. And real mobile or residential IPs, the kind the phone on a carrier actually uses, which carry the most trust because that's where most genuine humans connect from. The reason a mobile IP works so well is simple. Carriers hand the same address to many real subscribers over time, so the platform can't treat that range as automatically suspicious without punishing real users. You get the benefit of being indistinguishable from the crowd in a good way. Now the behavior side, which is where most of your day-to-day control sits. The single most important number is your outbound rate to non-contacts, because that's the action limits are designed to throttle. Messaging people who already have you in their contacts is nearly free. Messaging strangers is expensive, so the more of your activity that happens with existing contacts and inside groups you actually participate in, the lower your risk. An account that mostly talks to people it knows and occasionally reaches someone new looks human. An account that does nothing but blast new people looks like a tool. Let me give you concrete numbers, because vague advice is useless here. For an account under a month old, keep outbound messages to non-contacts under 10 a day and make every one of them genuinely different. For an account 1 to 3 months old, you have more room, but I'd still keep it under 30 a day and never send the same text twice in a row. Past 3 months, with a clean history behind it, the account can handle real work, but the repetition rule never expires. Identical text at volume is the one thing that flags accounts at any age. Repetition deserves its own moment because people misunderstand it. It is not about the total number of messages, it's about similarity. You can send 40 different specific human messages and be fine. You can send 5 identical ones and get limited. The anti-abuse systems hash and compare message content, and tight clusters of near-identical text are exactly what automated farms produce. So if you ever find yourself copying and pasting the same message to several people, stop. Rewrite it each time or don't send it. Reports are the trigger you have the least direct control over, but you can still influence them. People report messages they didn't expect and didn't want. So if you're reaching out to strangers, give them a reason not to feel spammed. Be specific to that person, lead with context, and never open with a generic pitch. A single report rarely does much. A cluster of reports in a short window tells the platform that real humans on the other end are flagging you, and that's weighted heavily. Cold, irrelevant, mass-style outreach generates reports. Relevant, specific, one-to-one messages don't. If you do trip a limit despite all this, what you do next decides everything. The wrong move is to keep messaging strangers to test whether it's lifted. Every failed attempt is another data point against you. The right move is to stop reaching out to non-contacts entirely for about 72 hours, while keeping the rest of your normal activity going. Read groups, reply where you already participate, talk to existing contacts. In most cases, the soft limit lifts on its own within a few days once the system sees the suspicious behavior stop. If it hasn't cleared after a week, the support form is the only real path, and replies run anywhere from 5 to 14 days. That long wait is exactly why prevention is worth so much more than recovery. There's a second category of habits that quietly builds trust over time, and most people ignore it because nothing forces them to do it. Keep your profile complete. A photo, a name, a short bio. Turn on two-step verification because genuine owners do that and throwaway accounts don't, so it reads as a real person signal. Keep a handful of real contacts and actually talk to them, and keep a roughly consistent daily rhythm instead of firing in random bursts at random hours. None of these individually saves you. Together they make the account look lived in, and lived in accounts get the benefit of the doubt. One more thing about consistency that people underrate. Telegram watches session patterns over time, not just raw volume. An account that's active in a roughly similar window each day, from a stable network, looks like a person with a routine. An account that appears from a new IP every session, active at random hours, looks like a number being passed around. You don't need to be online for hours. You need to be present briefly and regularly from a stable place. One pattern worth calling out, because operators trip it constantly. Mixing fresh outbound work with a freshly switched device or network on the same day. You move the account to a new phone or a new connection, and that same day you ramp your messaging to the platform that reads as a number changing hands and immediately going to work, which is the exact shape of an account being sold and abused. If you ever change the device or network an account lives on, give it a few quiet days on the new setup before you do anything that touches your outbound limits. So pull it together. Limits are a trust score, not bad luck. Keep your outbound to strangers low and scale to your account's age. Never send repetitive text. Live on a clean, stable IP and a real device. Keep the profile complete and two-factor on. Talk to real contacts. Be specific enough that nobody reports you. Do that and the limit screen is something you read about instead of something you hit. Here's where the infrastructure half of this gets handled for you. Telegram Vault is managed Telegram hosting on dedicated Singapore hardware. Real handsets on real carrier SIMs from Singtel, M1, StarHub and Vivify, with a stable, non-rotating mobile IP and a phone that stays online so your session looks continuously active. The behavior is still yours to run, but the device and the IP, the two things that quietly sync accounts for reasons that have nothing to do with what you typed, are off the table. If you want that, start at telegramvault.org. Onboarding begins with a real conversation about your setup, not the checkout page, and the code TGYT gets you a discount when you start. If this kept your account out of the penalty box, subscribe because the next video is on session hygiene and two-factor, the small settings that decide whether your account survives a stolen password or a lost phone. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.